Hey Patrick,
Hey Mark, hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm getting better. I'm doing good. My Achilles tendon is getting better.
Oh,
Uh,
good.
it it heals quite good, and I can walk around a little bit more. It's so annoying if you have some really yeah hefty pain in your Achilles tendon, and every step feels like you have a needle in your Achilles tendon. You never notice something along those lines on your own body, right?
Not with the Achilles tendon, and that sounds quite painful, Patrick. Especially if
Yeah,
you need to walk a lot.
yeah, it's super annoying. I don't have a car. I don't need a car. And suddenly you need a car, and then you need to get a car, and then you, yeah, have a car with a manual gear, and you're used to automatic driving, and yeah, first world problems, I guess, right?
Yeah, but can you avoid it by walking on your toe, like on the with that foot, or isn't
Um,
doesn't that work?
I can do it, but I
It looks
think then,
awkward.
yeah, that's one point. And the other one is, so I do work out very much. I do work out a lot. And I learned that if I compensate for one injury by doing some weird stuff like, yeah, just working out on one side, for example, you get hurt on the other side as well. So yeah, I think if I would work around, if I would walk around differently, it would just get worse. But yeah, yeah, it will get better, I guess.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Okay, okay. We do have the 4th of February, so the first day of the, not the first day, but our first episode of the month, and we usually talk about our portfolio allocation, our overall portfolio for the month. Yeah, do you want to start with this topic?
Yeah, sure. So last time I checked it was December 31st, and I checked it again January 30th, and well, my portfolio has gone down a lot in dollar value, about 31%. With regards to the individual allocations, it hasn't shifted too much. My Illuvium allocation went from 54 to 50%, and my
Hmm.
BTC allocation went from 34 to 39.
Hmm.
Yeah, let me see. I have a little bit more Phantom than Solana now, but they don't differ that much. And for the rest, not much has happened, to be honest. Whenever I'm harvesting usually stables or either Sol.
Hmm. And your stablecoin position, how big is this?
Yeah, it's tiny. It's still less than 1%,
Hmm.
unfortunately. So yeah.
Are you planning to build up on it, or are you fine with it? What's your plan for the upcoming, let's say, 3 months? Not the next 12 months, maybe next 3 months. Are you planning to
Yeah,
change anything?
I don't plan to swap what I have right now into stables, but I plan to use my harvest from yield farming to get more
Hmm.
stables. And if I onboard more fiat, I will also do it into stables.
Ah,
That way I
okay, you
will
will onboard
slowly
into
grow.
stable.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, stablecoin farming. I think you are missing out on a lot of enjoyment. It brings a lot of fun to me. But yeah, interesting that Illuvium hold itself quite good. Obviously, a lot of downturn, and I think it hurts a lot. But um, I think if you take a look at the last 3 months or so, or the 4 months, how crypto performed, I think it's quite interesting that Illuvium holds himself up against BTC. And yeah, this might recover, I guess, my friend. I hope for you. I pray for you.
Yeah, I think it's probably because you still get like a couple of 100% APR, right? So even though the price of Illuvium
Ah,
has dropped a
okay.
lot, I have a lot more tokens than I had, a month
Mm.
before. So I think that's the
Ah,
difference.
okay. That's interesting, actually. That's a really interesting dynamic. You get a lot of tokens. Do you think that, okay, but that's a different topic, but just a quick question. Do you think that the amount of Illuvium that gets thrown into the market, the high APYs mean that there are a lot of tokens getting into the market? Do you think this makes a huge selling pressure on the market, or how do you think about this?
Um, I don't think so yet because if you want to get a high APY, you need to lock it and you need to LP with it in the ETH ILV pair. So I get a lot of tokens, but I can't sell them yet. So I think there will be a pretty big downward pressure at some point when the unlocks start, but they haven't started yet. And
Mm,
it's a little bit like curve. So the longer you lock, the higher yield you get, right? So um,
mm.
this is why the yields are relatively high for me, but I still can't unlock it or sell it.
Yeah, I remember there's this really interesting dynamic from Illuvium. We have it lock it, then you have to vest it and stuff like this, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think we need an Illuvium podcast once again someday somehow. Yeah, interesting dynamic.
Yeah. What about your
Yeah, anything else?
portfolio? No, nothing special with regards to my portfolio. I haven't bought any more Albridge for now. I'm just
No.
holding it simple and safe.
Ah, okay, awesome. Yeah, for my sorry.
No, I was just gonna ask you, how did your portfolio change this week?
Yeah, so the last episode I gave an update, and it was a pretty big update for myself. I am sitting now at 65% ETH, 25% BTC, 8% stablecoins, 1% DFI, and 1% Sol. So in regards to last week, basically nothing has changed. Maybe ETH went from 64% to 65 because ETH is going up a little bit in BTC, but those tiny changes, I think those are totally irrelevant for you and the listeners. It's just normal market fluctuations. So I do have the biggest stablecoin position I had in my whole life, and I'm planning to build up on it. And I'm planning to have a stablecoin position between 10 to 30%. And if you would have told me that I would say something along those lines a couple of years ago, I would tell you, damn guy, you're crazy. Why the hell should I stay in stablecoins? But if you understand more the opportunities you can do with them, and if you understand more how emotional relaxing it is, and that just brings a huge lifetime EV. So EV means expected value, and expected value means basically how much you get out of it. And the EV could also be negative. So in regards to how much money I make in EV terms, I think I can make more money if I just put the 8% into ETH, for example. But from a lifetime EV, so how relaxing I feel about my mental state, how excited I am over the current market, and how excited I am about what we're building and what I'm focusing on, the lifetime EV is much, 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 much bigger than being 89% exposed to the long side. And I've been exposed 89% from my whole portfolio to crypto on the long side. I was totally long all the time, besides
Hmm.
getting liquidated on drift if I try to be short, but that's a different story. And yeah, so it feels really good. And I'm planning to have a stablecoin position within 10 to 30%. And I start to developing stablecoin strategies and putting into place where I get between 5 to 85% yield on my stablecoin. And if you take a look at Bitcoin, for example, Bitcoin 12 months ago was higher than it is now. So if you get a little bit yield on your stablecoins, you could be able to outperform holding BTC. I don't think that's for the long term, but for the short term, and you make some money, you learn a lot. So yeah, yada yada yada, a lot of benefits, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like you've become a stablecoin boomer.
Yeah, next time I'm selling all my ETH and go into Bitcoin because then I can sleep even better. But man, I'm so freaking bullish about Ethereum. That's a different discussion.
And you mentioned you want to go maybe up to 10 to 30%.
Mhm.
How do you intend to reach that? Is it just by are you gonna swap any of your other positions to stables, or are you just gonna,
Mhm.
just like me, like slowly accumulate it or something?
Yeah, I have a different plan. So if I were to slowly accumulate, my yield farming portfolio is not that big. And if you imagine 8% of your portfolio and you get like 5% yield a year to go up to 30%, it takes multiple years. So my plan is the following. So I do follow Dr. Julian Hosp a lot, and he's the guy from the inner circle. And he's pretty good at getting a sense of where the market is going right now. And he makes some, what is it called? Swing trades?
Yeah.
So not daily trades, not weekly trades, more like monthly or quarterly and stuff like this. And I plan on doing it like he does over the last couple of years. He basically, if the market gets a little bit euphoric, and I'm in crypto right now for over 4 years by now, so I think I get a good understanding on how the market feels. And if the market is getting more euphoric, I'm trying to sell more of my BTC and ETH, even though it may feel totally against my intuition at that situation. So I will go to 30% depending on how euphoric the market is. And if we get down to more like a pessimistic phase, like we had a couple of weeks ago, or even we're having right now, I think having like 10% because then you basically reallocate into positions. And if you make those big swing trades and try to be objective about the market, I think you can make some really nice trades by doing so. You won't most likely don't find the bottom, you won't find the top, but I think you can take a guess when the BTC futures launch, for example, the BTC futures ETF. You could take a guess that this was a hype cycle, and yeah, this was a situation where you could have sold some of your stuff to build up your stable composition. And this is the part I missed over the last couple of years a lot.
Okay, yeah, very, very interesting, Patrick. I hope that you're able to time the market because that's quite difficult, you know. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm curious to see how this will play out this year.
Me as well, my friend, me as well. But even though, even if it might fail, and even if I sell the bottom and buy the top, for example, yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'm fine with it because it's a learning experience. And if I lose now a couple of $100 or a couple of $1,000, I think it's totally normal. If you want to make the big money someday, somehow you need to be able to lose a lot of money. And I learned this from playing poker. I made a lot of money. I lost a lot of money, but I think I wouldn't be able to be where I'm at right now if I never lost so much money. So yeah, I think losing money is important because this links to your emotions, and emotions burn those experiences in your mind. So you don't just read it from books. But yeah,
Okay.
even if I get burned, I'm fine, I guess.
Yep.
Okie dokie. Yeah, do you want to transition to remarkable things that happened this week?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have anything? I have one topic I would like to discuss.
Sure.
Two topics.
I have one topic to discuss, and that's with regards to a tweet thread from Jason Choi. I'm not sure if you know him, but he's I think from Spartan
Mhm.
Capital.
Yeah, this Asian guy, right?
Yeah, he also has this podcast, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had a tweet thread about the state of VCs these days,
Mhm.
and I'll link it in the show notes. And one of the things he wrote about is that basically, yeah, but basically we are oversaturated with VCs, and it's quite easy to get money. And the quality of VCs is is dropping a lot lately. So even the crappiest protocols are getting funded right now, and because people are still um, thinking that the results that they got in like last year and the year before, that they will be the same this year, you know. So right now
Mhm.
it's quite overstretched, and what he mentioned was some quite interesting points. For instance, because every bet is a lottery ticket, funds are optimized to spray and pray. And this is what you
Mhm.
see with Alameda, for instance, right? They're invested in
Yeah.
almost everything. And he says that because VCs subsist of management fees, raising large funds matter more than producing best-in-class returns. Both imply.
Wait, raising large funds?
Mhm,
Can you repeat this, please?
sure. So these VCs, they live off the management fees necessarily,
Mhm.
and not
Ah,
the
okay.
profit they get from
Yeah,
from
yeah,
their
yeah.
investments. So they raise large funds, and so they have bigger portfolios. But it also means that the founders get less support from the VCs, right? Because the VCs are all bulking up and growing their portfolio, and they're not hiring as many people as they are increasing their TVL kind of.
Mhm.
So founders are also getting less and less, you know, support from the VCs that they used to get.
Mhm.
And he says what's happening right now is that the VC market is so frothy that some founders they raise pre-product rounds from VCs at really high valuations, um,
Mhm.
and often it comes with some predatory terms that the VCs don't understand. So there's basically some new VCs that give out money very early on without there being a product, but they don't even understand what they are signing in terms of contracts.
Mhm.
And how he expects this to play out is that at some point, the good founders, like the good projects, they will feel disillusioned by the VCs because the good ones are, you know, less and less common. And what will
Mhm.
happen is the founders will start to raise from other founders, and then you will get investment
Mhm.
clubs, and that will basically kill the VCs until the next cycle
Mhm.
starts again. So I think that's also kind of what you see with, for instance, with Aave, right? Like Sani is investing in a lot of
Mhm.
protocols, for instance. So I thought it was just kind of an interesting take on VCs and how oversaturated
Mhm.
it is. And even though the market is not super good at the moment, it's still it's
Mhm.
crazy. So what do you think about VCs?
What do I think about VCs, man?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need to answer this in two directions. So first, in the crypto direction, then about my personal experiences for our own company. Uh, Totally different game, my friend. So we are. I will give you a really short answer about my personal business. So we're raising multiple millions right now, and it takes months and months and months, and really due diligent process. We basically need to apply for money, so it's the other way around. We build digital platforms, but it's not like we're getting offers and offers and offers. So I don't know how it's in crypto, but if it is in crypto the other way around, that protocols are getting offers, offers, offers. I think that money is freaking important. I've been into situations where money is a big restriction, and without money you can't build up a business. So I think people will always so crypto people will always bring on VCs if they bring on huge amount of money in comparison to a Sunny, for example, who brings like 10% of it. So I think it's not that black and white, it's more like gray. And I think if um, wealthy founders, for example, like Sunny, brings in, let's say, 50% of something that Alameda would bring to the table, for example, I think crypto protocols should consider taking Sunny instead of Alameda, for example, because the active participation is super important. So I think it's gray, it's not black and white. And yeah, I never experienced raising money within crypto. Maybe we will within this year, but that's a secret for now. So yeah, that's my take on it. Does this make somehow sense, or what do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah, makes a lot of sense to be honest. I think crypto is just a little bit more frothy in terms of VCs compared to the
Mm,
normal situation. And yeah, it's at some point, it will go back to normal basically. But right now,
yeah,
it's in a kind of a boom phase.
yeah. And if you raise a fund, you need to allocate the money. So they need to get money out there. And yeah, so I think the don't hate the players hate the game, and so I think it's part of the game. And you described it pretty good. So yeah,
Cool.
thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah, no worries. Was there anything remarkable that you noticed this week?
Yeah, actually, two things. The first one is I would like to start with we had our first YouTube comment. So
Really? Oh my God.
yay, yeah, yeah, and it was about METIS. So I think people want to learn more about METIS. So I know that you're a METIS. I know that you're playing around. I know
Hmm.
that you're making money, losing money. And I was wondering, what are you doing right now? What are you seeing? Where do you see good potential? So we can talk for a couple of minutes about METIS to
Sure.
bring our listeners some interesting takes.
Yeah, sure. Just for those who don't know, Metis is an optimistic rollup. It's similar to Optimism, except for it has a token. And also, it has, yeah, it's basically more community oriented and more DAO oriented, I would say, than Optimism. I would say Optimism is a little bit more serious and a little bit more like technology oriented, right?
Mm.
And basically, Metis is higher TVL than Optimism right now, so I wouldn't sleep on it.
Optimism is super low, right?
Well, it's increasing.
Mm.
I think Curve is also coming to Optimism, but I'm not entirely sure. But
Mm.
Optimism is growing a little bit now. It's not just synthetics, it's and Uniswap. It's growing a little bit, but still,
Mm.
Metis is still growing a little bit faster. And what's really interesting about Metis is that 30% of the gas fees, and you pay that in a token called Metis, they go back to the protocols. So protocols are
The
quite
protocols.
yeah.
Mhm.
So this is where protocols are quite incentivized to at least build on Metis or even just clone their project on Metis because they get basically free money from the users. So
Mm.
this is quite interesting. Also, what's good about Metis is that Aave is coming to Metis, and also um, they have this program coming up where they will store part of the blockchain on some kind of like what do you call it, where also NFTs are stored. I forgot what it's called, like the decentralized storage, right?
Um, you mean Filecoin, for
Arweave, like
example?
Arweave and
Arweave.
stuff.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, like something like this. I read that they're gonna do something like this, and this will make it so that the gas fees are a lot lower because they have to somehow store less and consolidate less back to Ethereum. I don't know exactly the
Mm.
technical details, but the
Mm.
gas fees are right now quite high. They're like $2 or something, or $1 or $3. And once they implement this, and this will happen at the end of next month, they'll go back to cents. So I think that's
Mm.
when it will be quite interesting. And with regards to the protocols there, it's still a little bit degen, I would say. Right now, I'm invested in something called NetSwap, which is the number one TVL
Mm.
decentralized exchange there. But they also have quite an interesting borrow lending protocol called Agora. And it has kind of an interesting layout compared to most protocols. And also, what's quite interesting is that you can supply LPs there, just like you can on Apricot, for instance, right now, or maybe Larix. They have Larix has a lot of LPs, right, that you can supply.
Mm.
So they have that feature as well. And also they allow you to borrow some more degen tokens like net, like like for instance,
Mm.
it's like if you were to borrow Radium, but then yeah, net is a lot more degen than Radium, for instance. So Right now, you can get quite high yields from supplying net to Agora. You get a couple of 100% yield.
Mm.
Yeah, so the yields are quite good. But to be honest, I'm still a little bit underwater on the position due to the gas fees, the bridging cost,
Mm.
and the impermanent loss. But I'm sure it will work out.
And the token themselves, I think you have net exposure, right?
Um, so so I deposited USDT there in USDC, and I borrowed net, which is the token from the DEX,
Mm.
and I am
Ah,
farming with
okay.
that in NetSwap. So and I have also
So
a
you're
little
hoping that it doesn't moon, otherwise you will get liquidated.
kinda, yes.
Mm. Yeah, pretty interesting. I'm on
Hmm.
DeFi Lama right now, and I see that actually METIS has 40 million more than Optimism, so really interesting.
Hmm.
Optimism has been around for months and months and months. And Net has how much is it? 95% of the TVL on the on is locked on Net, so the other protocols are super freaking small. Yeah, really interesting. Maybe we should also talk about Metis a bit more in upcoming episodes. I need to do a little bit of research, and in regards to time, I think that's an awesome overview that we gave. Yeah, I don't have any question. Would you like to add anything there?
Um, if you know a person called trycryptoyield.info on Twitter, he's a
Hmm.
pretty experienced yield farmer, and he expects there to be some kind of Metis summer, just like you had with Phantom or Metis season basically. So I
Hmm.
would expect Metis to do quite well once they lower the gas fees, basically. So
Hmm.
yeah, be, you may want to
Hmm.
start farming there or get a little bit of the Metis token at
Hmm.
least, just in case.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about this thing,
Hmm.
but just as a small tangent, do you remember the Boba network a couple of months ago?
Yeah,
And it hyped like crazy, right?
yeah, it did.
And now it's totally gotten irrelevant.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not quite sure. I think you got something right now.
Hmm.
I don't know about the summer because summer is like 5 months
Okay,
away.
okay,
So,
okay. Let me not say a summer, but I mean
mm,
there may be a little bit of a season, like maybe
okay, yeah,
a
for
one or
sure.
2 month season.
Yeah.
I don't expect anything crazy, but
Mm,
yeah, to be honest, I don't know too much about Boa, but Meta seems kind of a little bit like viral and like community oriented. Like it's a little bit different, I would say. It's not just a random chain that just moons
mm,
and then dumps again.
mm,
It's they have some really tight community. So I think this is also what's a
mm.
little bit interesting about it.
Yeah, I think a really important metric is to see how many protocols are on this chain. Right now, Boba has 9 protocols, Metis has 9, and Optimism has 21. So I think you need to take a look at how many protocols are on there. And if this number is not going up, I think you need to pack your bags sooner than later, because then the network doesn't get much traction. But those are just my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I agree, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
still relatively new.
Aave is coming. If Aave is coming, wow, this would be freaking awesome.
They are coming. It's been confirmed. Like they have done the snapshot vote.
Oh, cool. Yeah, thank you for this.
Sure.
I have one remarkable thing I noticed this week. So I basically just listened to one podcast the whole week, and it was like last Saturday or so. Or when was it? I don't recall the exact number. So I basically stopped listening to a lot of podcasts because it gives me more relaxedness in my life, and I basically just listened to the one because the title was so freaking awesome. And you can take a guess on what it was about. Do you want to take a guess?
I would think it is the one with Hasib Qureshi or something about the nation states.
No, the other one. It's also on Bankless, but good guess.
Oh, the Curve Wars, maybe?
No, it's the one with Ryan Ellis, and he's the managing partner at Hard Rhythm, and they're a hedge fund with are mostly focusing on delta neutral strategies.
Oh, wow.
And the episode is called "Why ETH is Going to 3 trillion." And obviously, I agree before even listening to the episode. So, just jokes aside, I think this was a really interesting case because Ryan Ellis did the following. And again, huge props to Bankless and all those guys because I think they are building up memes and narratives that are not 100% true, I think, but they give us a interesting take on ETH becoming money, becoming deflationary. And Ryan Ellis built up on this, and he came up with a discounted cash flow analysis for ETH. He was basically taking a look at, okay, if ETH goes from proof of work to proof of stake, and it becomes deflationary, and how much money is it generating right now, and stuff like this. And um, if it becomes deflationary, what's the amount of money that basically gets burned? And he was taking a look at the PE ratio of different companies out there. And just to give you one example, do you know the PE ratio of Tesla right now?
Um, I don't know. I would say maybe 90.
It's 300.
Oh,
So really high, but you can take a guess if it goes up or down. I think it's the market decides right now 300 is fair. So
mm,
yeah, I don't think our opinion doesn't matter that much. So if you take a look at the PE ratio of ETH right now, I think it's below 10. And even if you put it at a PE ratio of 20, so 15, so 1/15th out of Tesla, it would be at multi-trillion. So then the question becomes, is this model legit? And they talked about it for 1.5 hours and stuff like this. So I
mhm,
think there are some parts where the model breaks down, like every model does. But if you take a rough estimation that this could be somehow true, I think you could ask yourself the question, okay, why is it not priced in right now? Why is ETH not already at multi-trillions? And why yeah, is ETH still at 2.5K or
mhm.
2.7, whatever? And they raised the question, and basically they answered the question with two takes, and I think this is pretty interesting. And those two takes are the institutionals who basically bring the value to Ethereum. They see two big risks. Right now, they are focusing on Bitcoin, and this is due to the fact that Bitcoin is the most decentralized, so there is not much risk of being called a security. And imagine you have a big fund and you buy a security. Yeah, rest in peace, my friend. Your investment will go down to not zero, but a lot. And the other one is that, yeah, Ethereum is still in a development phase, and it most likely will be within the next decades. At least that's my guess. And there comes the point of execution risk, obviously. Imagine that ETH right now has a total value locked of, let's say, 300 billion or 200 billion, whatever. Imagine something with the merge goes wrong. Imagine there's a bug in a smart contract. Imagine that it get hacked like a wormhole. Wormhole got hacked for 250 million, and then some fund jumped in and said, okay, guys, we will take care of it. But imagine Ethereum goes wrong, and it's a multi-trillion-dollar asset. Man, this could have really huge downsides for the whole economy. So I think, for me at least, I'm super confident that ETH will execute, that ETH will reach a PE ratio above 10, where it's roughly right now, and that ETH will go to multi-trillions, and ETH will execute without any bugs. So yeah, this is my take. I think this was super interesting, super bullish, and I need to buy more ETH basically. But yeah, that's just my take. I'm obviously a little bit biased. I do have bags, and I do like the community. What do you think, from your point of view, where you don't have that big of an ETH bag? What do you think about such takes?
Um, yeah, I think it's quite tricky because um, on the one hand, you know, like fundamental valuations, like the ones you've demonstrated, I'm not sure how valid they are in crypto, most of the time. I feel like most of the time, memes are more important than fundamentals. But of course, ETH is also good at meming, so that's not an issue. But at the same time, I'm also personally invested in protocols that have quite good fundamentals in terms of the earnings and what they will bring back. For instance, like Albridge
Mm,
earns quite a lot. They have quite a low PE, and the same goes for Lumium, I think, when it comes out. So yeah, I'm kind of two minds in this.
mm,
I also think that Ethereum, I think it's a little bit harder to understand for a lot of people than something like Bitcoin. This is also maybe a
for
reason
sure.
why a lot of people aren't yet using or investing in Ethereum. But
Mm,
did you hear that like the laws with regards to staking have changed or something in the US? So I think from what I recall, you don't have to pick
mm,
up the gains on it or something like this. So maybe staking Ethereum will become quite big,
yeah,
once ETH 2.0 comes out. So
yeah.
this is maybe could be a catalyst for a massive increase in valuation.
Mm, yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I hope so. If you hear something like, so there is this quote of Nassim Taleb, and I'm paraphrasing here. He basically says, don't ask people for their opinion, ask them what's in their portfolio. So maybe let me rephrase the question a little bit. If you hear some things like ETH is going to 3 trillion and the PE ratio is at below 10 and Tesla has above 300, does this tinkle your itch to buy a little bit more ETH, or is it totally irrelevant for you?
It's totally irrelevant for me for some reason. Yeah, even though it sounds awesome, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just not. Yeah, yeah. I'm just not that bullish on it, Patrick. But maybe that's. I could be. I'm probably wrong on this because a lot of smart people are very bullish on it. So I
Mm,
just don't think like the whole burning aspect. Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure. I feel like buy and burn. I think that's like a weird mechanism that isn't that. It doesn't correlate one to one with an asset price increase. Look at serum, for instance. They burn a shit ton of serum each week, and the price, still still goes down. And I
mm,
read like a tweet last week or the week before that at I don't know at what pace, sorry, but at a certain pace, it would take like 32 years before all ETH has been burned up. So I feel like the burning mechanism, sure, it helps, but I think people are over relying on it personally.
mm,
And also, I'm a little bit, yeah, I'm not 100% sure that protocols will continue to pay, homage and fees to the Ethereum chain to write back on there.
mm,
Uh, why wouldn't they just band together and make their own chain to write back on or something, or make like a cartel where they write back on the cheaper chain or
mm,
whatever. So I still have to see how the future plays out. But I could be totally wrong on this, and my opinion is a little bit unorthodox, I would say. So yeah, who knows, man?
mm,
But yeah, in general, I think ETH is
mm.
quite a good investment, so I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah. I asked the question specifically because you've been in crypto for a year by now, right?
Yeah.
So I think you are on the edge of becoming a real knowledgeable crypto investor. But for now, you are most not that knowledgeable. And please take this not as an offense. I think a lot of people, they and even myself, I understand ETH like from a game theory point of view, I understand it like 60%, but no means 100%. And I'm wondering if all those memes that those Ethereum maximalists come up, if they just resonate with people who are already bullish on Ethereum and they're irrelevant for other people. So this is why I ask you, because I think you're a good representation of someone who's in crypto for not that long, but for quite a good amount of months. So yeah, yeah, thanks for a take. It was really interesting to hear that.
Mhm. Yeah, no worries, and no offense taken. So, I don't know. I admit it. I don't know too much about
Mm,
Ethereum and about the technical aspects and about a lot of things. Even though I listen to
mm,
a lot of Bankless in the Daily Way, but still, there's still
mm,
quite a lot I don't know about Ethereum.
mm. Okay, perfect. Yeah, do you want to transition to things that excite us?
Yeah, sure.
Okie dokie. Do you have any topics? I have two at least. What about you?
I have just one topic. Uh, well, it's a short one. So I've gotten access to Sophon, I think, Sopon, Phon, and it
Mm,
is kind of like a June Analytics. If you know, do you know June Analytics?
yeah, but can you explain it real quick for our listeners, please?
Yeah, good point. Good point. June Analytics is a website where you can make queries in SQL, which is kind of like a database language, and there you can yeah, fetch data from the Ethereum blockchain and also some from some other blockchains. So, and with this, you can do quite interesting things. For instance, you can see how many tokens or like how many tokens are in circulation, or how many users have used the protocol every month, or all kinds of interesting things.
Mm,
You can make your own charts on there and also your own tables, and you can store them and other people can use them, and you can also see other people's dashboards. So this is what June Analytics is. But June Analytics, as far as I know, they are not on Solana yet. They are more like in the EVM-oriented chains. So I had a chance to try out Sophon, I think it's called, and it's like a
mm,
Solana version of June Analytics. But when I talked to them, they said I shouldn't compare them with June Analytics because what they do is a lot more high end in terms of big data and querying and stuff like this. So
mm,
yeah, I'm quite interested to tinker with it a little bit and to get some data from Solana. And just in general, I would like to get a little bit more familiar with Solana's model, there, because I still don't understand their soul scan. It makes no sense to me. So I want to understand the account model. And I know they have had quite a lot of videos on the bootcamp on the I think Solana official channel or maybe a Solana bootcamp channel.
mm.
So I'm excited to dig into it a little bit more and to become a little bit more familiar with how Solana works.
It's called, thanks for the explanation. It's called Sophon, Sophon.
I think so. Sophon at XYZ. Let me
Mm,
just double check if I can find the URL for it.
Yeah, we can put in the show notes if it takes
Yeah,
too
yeah,
much time
yeah.
right
It's
now.
it's so fun. But I'll put it in the
Ah,
show
cool.
notes.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for bringing it up. What is your first impression? Do you like it? Do you think it's useful? What actions do you take out of it?
Well, it is still in alpha version basically. So I happen to get access by coincidence on Twitter. But I talked to one of the developers last night, and they are just still like a super small team and just starting up this service basically. So it's still kind of new and a little bit really
Mm.
like alpha, a little bit rough. But what I noticed is that it's really fast, and
Ah.
that's really cool because the Solana blockchain it has so many transactions. So for me right now, it's I can't really do that much with it because I don't understand how Solana Solana works yet.
Ah.
So I don't know what to search for and stuff like basically. But
Mm.
that's why I want to
No one knows
dig
how
in.
Solana works.
Nah, no, there's plenty of people who know it. But yeah, I don't I don't know how Solana works. And I think yeah, if you wanted to hide the Horcrux, I would do it in the Solana Solana blockchain because it's so complex. But yeah,
Yeah, cool. Thanks for bringing it up. It's interesting. I'm
sure.
on the page right now and looks cool. NFT marketplaces, transactions, token transfers. Um, it looks really early,
Yeah, it is
but
really early.
it looks also quite cool. I don't know what to get out of it right now, besides yeah, getting an understanding of if the blockchain is healthy right now or not. Monthly active users is interesting. The
Hmm.
number of wallets, for example, it went down from December to January, from December to November. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I need to take a look into it.
Sure.
Anything else that you would like to add in regards to this?
Not in regards to this, but I would still like to get a little bit more knowledgeable about supplying LP pairs in borrow lending protocols. Um,
Hmm.
because, for instance, you brought up the issue of what's it called, a Pi, like Parrot
Hmm.
protocol, and
Hmm.
I still don't really understand it too well.
It's freaking
It's
interesting.
it's quite interesting, but I don't really understand. And the same goes for I think Sentia, for instance. So there are some
Hmm.
areas of Solana that I'm not fully utilizing yet,
Yeah,
and I really need to understand it a little bit better. So
yeah,
yeah.
really interesting. I dug into this yesterday evening, and it took me like an hour or so to understand how Parrot works and what you can do with it. And I think just to give our listeners a real quick explanation, real quick, but they need to do their own research, obviously. Um, I will just keep it super brief. So imagine you have USDT, USDC, and you put it on Saber, and you get an LP token. Most of the times you get like, let's say, 5% on this LP position, and you let this LP token sit within your wallet, and it basically sits there. But on Parrot Finance, for example, you could go ahead and stake this LP token, and two options. You can borrow against it, or you can earn additional yield by depositing it. So freaking interesting. I think this brings a whole new level to borrowing stablecoins. I mean, supplying stablecoins, borrowing against it, putting the borrowed assets into an yield farm, taking the LP, put it into Parrot, minting Pi, switching Pi to USDC, and doing whatever you want. So it basically does not stop at having an LP token. It can go on and on and on and on. Obviously, you basically get more risk because imagine Parrot breaks down, then basically all your positions could be gone. But this is how it works, and I need to do a lot of research about this. But I think that's a big use case on how you can make not just 5% yield on your stablecoins. You can make like tenfold by just putting yeah the LP borrowing stuff into process.
Yeah, I agree. It's I really need to explore the options you have with it. And
Mm,
I kind of don't like the swapping element, where you have to swap your Pi back for USDT and stuff.
mm.
There is some risk to it, but I need to wrap my head around it a little bit better of what exactly are the risks.
Yeah, we both do our research, and then we will be smarter, I hope.
Yeah, let's hope.
Um, okay, anything else?
No?
Okay,
What are you
perfect.
excited for, Patrick?
Yeah, in regards to time, I'm just excited about one topic, not two topics. um, but I'm mainly excited about two things right now. And the first one is, like I mentioned last week, we are still building our MVP, so our minimal viable product for the sheet that you are putting out on Twitter. We try to wrap it around in a website, and yeah, I personally get so much benefit out of it for my own yield farming. I learn a lot. I get a really good overview of where the yields are good at, what the yield farms are out there. So I think it's super educational, and if we manage to put this into really good MVP, I think we could bring big value to the Solana ecosystem, and this makes me super excited. And the other thing is what I'm super excited about is the point of yield farming. So I'm yield farming with my stablecoins right now, and the more I get used to it, the more enjoyment I get out of it, and the better yields I'm getting, hopefully. And I would like to ask you a question in regards to yield farming with stablecoins.
Sure.
So my question is basically, imagine that you have 10% of your portfolio in stablecoins, and you provide them to lending and borrowing protocols, and you borrow assets against it. And that's usually how you would go about in such a, in quote, bearish phase right now. You provide stablecoins and borrow against it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you find good yield farms with the help of your sheet? So how do you go about filtering your sheet? What makes a good yield farm for you to find out what to borrow and what to do with those borrowed assets? Do you know what I mean, or should I rephrase the question a little bit?
Yeah, I know what you mean. So what I do is that first I take a look at all the tokens you can borrow from borrow lending protocols. So there's quite a bit, like maybe like 20 or 30 tokens, maybe you can even borrow from borrow lending
Mm,
protocols. And then I would filter the sheet on those tokens. And then I would sort it by APR, and then also take into consideration the borrowing, APR from borrowing a certain token. For instance,
mm,
there are some farms with Radium that are quite high APR, but to borrow Radium, you also have to pay quite a high APR.
mm,
So it counterbalances a little bit. And yeah, like it's a little bit hard to do it with a sheet, so I do it with some programming to find
mm,
out what are some good pools. But the principle remains the same. Just filter all the possible tokens that you like and that you feel safe to borrow, and then just figure out what are the borrow rates from different protocols and what are the loan to values as well, right? Because some
mm,
protocols they may have a low borrow rate, but they have also a low loan to value, and usually that means that it's not worth it because you want something with a higher loan to value generally,
mm,
because then it means you can farm with more tokens. Yeah, so this is kind of how I do it, Patrick.
mm. And so this makes sense from a concept point of view. I
Hmm.
was running through it in my head, and I was imagining your sheet, and I was imagining how I would go about this. I think this would
Hmm.
take really much time, really much data gathering. So let's say, for example, you have a list of 30 things you can borrow,
Hmm.
and then you need to take a look at what are the borrow rates on different protocols. Then you need to take a look at yeah, what can I combine this coin with other coins in order to see the yields I'm getting out of it. Do you see any hack on how to filter the sheet to get to this a little bit easier, or do you think there is an add-on product, an add-on sheet, an add-on whatever needed to make this a little bit easier and useful for a yield farmer who does not want to spend like 5 hours on coming up
Hmm.
with the best yield farm?
Um, well, when I didn't do these calculations programmatically, I used to kind of do it myself a little bit, just with Google Sheets. And what
Wow.
I do is just basically, one time you write down the borrow rate and the loan to value ratios of
Mm,
all the tokens, right? And you filter by token. I mean, you sort it by token and by protocol.
mm,
And pretty soon you will get the feeling of because the loan to value ratios they almost never change. And the
mm,
borrow rates, they don't fluctuate that much in my view. I mean, they can change a little
mm,
bit, but in general, like for instance, Jet, they have low rates and they will continue to have low rates.
mm,
So at some point, you get a little bit of a feeling for which protocols are the best to borrow on. And yeah, if I were to give you like a shortcut, I would say I mainly borrow right now on Solent, on Larix, and on Aprico. So even if you just short it by these three and not take all the other ones, because you also have like
mm,
oxygen and et cetera, port, um, then it already, reduces your headache in terms of figuring out the best place. And then
mm,
you just look at, then you just look at the pairs where you get the best yield on. So you just filter by protocols that contain like
mm,
Ray, Serum, USDC, etc., etc. And then you just sort it. And usually, like one of the top ones are usually already the best ones, unless you have to borrow Radium, because
mm,
Radium has insane APR. So you can kind of do it from the top of your head actually, because The borrow rate
That's
from most
interesting.
tokens, they are not that different, and they're usually between 0 and 10%. Unless it's radium, then you have like a 60% or something. But mostly
Mm,
it's quite predictable, I would say. So yeah, you can
mm.
kind of do it that way, I would say.
Yeah, that's good advice. Thank you. I think I will try this this afternoon or maybe tomorrow. Yeah, thank you. Really interesting.
Sure.
We need to put this somehow into logic someday, somehow into MVP, because I think this is where the big alpha lies, especially if you combine this with Parrot, where you can supply your LP tokens and then you can do it all over again. But yeah,
Yeah.
different take. Yeah, thank you. Awesome.
Sure.
Um, do you want to transition to our last topic, the Solana yield farming challenge?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So we're already in week 14 of our podcast, and last week my portfolio was $702, and now it is $739. So I gained about $37, or about 5%. And I thought it was pretty decent, but to be honest, I have been kind of lazy this week, so I put my yield farms into I think Aldrin most of the week, and I just kept it there because I was a little bit tired this week, so I didn't swap it around too much, even though the rates deteriorated quite a bit. I think they
Mm,
started at around 100 plus APR percent, and now I think it's around 60 to 70 from top of my head. And it's the I am in the SD Sol USDT pair, I think. So what I did is that I supplied my Sol and USDC to I think Apricot, and then I borrowed STSOL because not a lot of protocols right now allow you to borrow STSOL, like a staked
mm,
sol. So you can do it from Apricot, I think. So this is what I did to LP in that. So yeah, I did decent, but I underperformed Solana unfortunately by yeah 0.17 sol. So I lost 0.17 sol even though I gained $40 roughly. So yeah,
mm.
meh, I'm yeah not the best week, but it's my own fault. How
Yeah.
about you?
Um, yeah, let me ask you one question, then I go into my portfolio, okay?
Sure.
So the ST Soul, it's a staked soul and it's not a solid. No, it's staked soul. Um, do you see a risk on being exposed to those kind of liquid stake coins, or do you think it's relaxing? I'm asking this because the wormhole bridge got exploited,
hmm
and a lot of funds were in trouble. Like the ETH basically went to zero. It did not went to zero from a price point of view, but the value basically it should have been zero because it's all just uh, not native ETH. It's a synthetic ETH basically. So I'm wondering the ST Sol, the M Sol, the PRTs and stuff like this.
hmm
Do you feel comfy holding ST Sol? And please imagine that if you were hold like 10% of your whole portfolio, because the Solana Yield Farming Challenge is a small portfolio, part of the portfolio, do you feel comfortable with holding such an asset, or do you think if it gets to a certain point, you wouldn't feel comfortable, even though it would give you more yield than having the native Sol?
Yeah, so personally, I feel really comfortable holding ST Sol. Although I personally don't hold it myself because it's not as you can't do as much with it, as with Sol. There's not a lot of protocols that allow you to use ST Sol. I do think ST Sol is very safe actually because ST Sol is minted on Solana itself and it is not bridged to something. So ST Sol is totally not comparable to a wormhole ETH or something, or this kind of thing, or solid ETH. They are really different. So yeah, and also I'm very confident in Lido. I think it's a very safe, sound
Mm,
protocol. So yeah, I have no problem holding all my Sol and ST Sol if I
mm,
wanted to. The only trick is personally that if you have ST Sol or even like M Sol and some of the others, if you want to swap it back to Sol, you sometimes have to wait a couple of days, or you have to take a cut, or you have to swap it.
mm,
So it's not that you can swap it back and forth that easily without taking a penalty. So this is why I
mm,
would be a little bit hesitant to hold just ST Sol, because in the past I held quite a bit of M Sol a while ago, and I thought, okay, there's a farm that requires Sol and not M Sol. Let me just go to the protocol and just unstake it. But it
mm,
doesn't work like that easily. You have to pay a fine or a wait. So
mm,
yeah, so I would be comfortable holding it in terms of a security aspect, but I don't hold it myself. And then with regards to like some other sols, like parrot sol, for instance, like PRT sol, I
mm,
wouldn't, I would not be too comfortable holding PRT sol actually.
mm,
So I am comfortable holding ST sol and M sol, and that's about it.
mm. Okay, interesting. I think I need to do a little bit more research about the security side of those things. I'm not knowledgeable, but I think that the comparison between SD Soul and Wormhole ETH is not that far off because both work with smart contracts, and the smart contract got exploited and not the bridge themselves. So those bridges are just the biggest honeypot because they have so much money locked in it, and this is why I think they are super attractive for hackers. Yeah, I might do a little bit more research because I think not the bridge itself got hacked, but one side of the smart contract. So yeah, let's let me do some research. But I think that Lido is a pretty good bet actually in regards to Parrot Finance. No offense to Parrot, but Lido has been around the block for a couple of years. So yeah, thank you for this.
Yeah, welcome.
In regards to my portfolio, I basically managed to gain 28 bucks roughly, and I managed to lose 0.06 Sol, and that's due to the fact that Sol got up like 10% from the last week. So what I'm doing right now is the same thing I'm doing since the last 4 weeks. I've been in Katana, in Chest, Finance, and in Frankium, and in
Ball?
Friction.
Oh, okay.
Friction. Yeah, so I'm using all those uh, option protocols, Katana, Chest Finance, and Friction, to get yield on my assets, which is pretty decent yield you're getting there. I think those are among the best yields you can get, for example, on your stablecoins. But also it's an airdrop speculation. So I do feel comfortable with it, but I'm in the process right now of reallocating one of the positions, and I can share some potential alpha with you if you want to.
Yeah, of course.
So I've been in Katana for multiple weeks by now, and you need about a week to get out of Katana because they sell those options, and then your funds are in there for a week. And a new protocol launched, which is called 01 protocol. Have you heard about it?
Yeah.
01 protocol is basically you can trade perps there. You can go long, short, up to 10x, I guess, on Sol, on BTC and stuff like this. So I'm planning to go on there, deposit 100 bucks or so, go short or go long for 1x or 1.2x. That's pretty brief, and then close my position again within a day. And the theory behind it is basically airdrop hunting. So I will lose a little bit of money by depositing there, by opening up the position, and I think that I will most likely don't make much money from this trade. Hopefully it break even within one day, or a small profit, a small downside, a small loss, but it's fine. But then one day I will get an NFT, and I will get an airdrop or whatever, but from using 01 protocol. And yeah, this is basically the one change I will make this week. But if I'm done with this, I will transition back to Katana, because I think Katana gives you awesome yield, and they will also launch a token someday somehow, I guess. So I think the upside there is much higher than just speculating on the price and being in the leveraged position for more than a day or so. Yeah, what do you think about this?
Okay, I see. So basically, you're not using Katana to go short and then 0-1 to go long or something. You're just basically taking your money out of Katana and putting them in 0-1 for a second and then going back.
Yeah, I would do what you said, but unfortunately, my portfolio is not big enough in regards to USD volume, and I would like to have at least 100 bucks deposited on 01 protocol, because protocols are using a threshold lately in regards to airdrop qualification, and I think I want to prioritize the airdrop eligibility in regards to hedging my bet. So yeah,
Okay,
just
makes sense.
do it this way. But your approach would be better if you had a bigger portfolio.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I don't have anything else that I'd like to discuss. Do you have any topics, or do you want to wrap it up?
No, let's wrap it up, Patrick.
Okie dokie, perfect. Then, yeah, this was the first week of February. Uh, the last time, so just from a brief point of view, the last times when the January in Bitcoin was a negative month, 100% of the Februarys that follow after it were a green month. So some hopium for you guys out there. Uh, I personally don't care and honestly don't care if it's like minus 10%, minus 20, minus 30, if it's plus 10, plus 20, plus 30, we're here for the long term. But guys, just don't be greedy, stay patient, and yeah, see you next week. And if you have any questions, jump into our Discord, and yeah, have a great week and see you next week.
See ya. Bye bye.
Bye bye.